Hello, my name is Misa. I have cosplayed for 4 years, and I'm representing Sweden with my Dober armor from Monster Hunter World. I'll start by showing you how the cosplay is put together and worn to show as few seams as possible and to get it as accurate to the video game as I could. I used a mix of Velcro, snaps, and metal hooks depending on what material I was working on. The cosplay is mainly made out of EVA foam, foam clay, warbler, fake fur, and fake leather, but also a little bit of real leather for the bags and some 3D printing on the lantern. The horns that wrap around my hips are made with a foam base with warbler wrapped around it to give it stability and the texture that I was looking for. I heated it up multiple times and reshaped it around my body to get it to fit perfectly for my shape. When I was happy with the shape, I primed them with wood glue and used the brush strokes to my advantage to get even more texture. Then I painted a black base and dry brushed on different shades of grey and brown and a little bit of white to add highlights. The feathers hanging off the back of the belt are made with 2 layers of fabric glued together with a wire in between to make them hold their shape. I made sure to make them detachable as well so that I could sit down without damaging them. I used alcohol markers in different colors to add depth to the fur. I spent a lot of time creating organic textures in my foam work to match the materials and methods used to make the armors in the game. One of the methods I used to get a leather-like texture in the foam was by heating up the foam with a heat gun and pushing in scrunched up aluminium foil into it while it was still hot. In the game, the colored markings are painted on, and I really wanted to distinguish the markings from the rest of the armor. Normally when I paint a cosplay, I try to make it look natural, like it isn't really painted at all. But for the markings, I used a much thicker layer and really lent into the natural texture of the paint. The device the hunter has on her left arm is called a Slinger. To make the arrow retractable, I used a string that pulls itself back in automatically and built that into the middle of the slinger and attached the arrow on the other end. The bags are hand sewn and made out of real leather. The bone details all over the cosplay are hand sculpted with foam clay and painted with acrylic paints to look old and worn down. The horns on the head have a complex shape, so to make a pattern I sculpted one out of aluminium foil and based it on that. The sword is made out of foam blocks and foam clay with a PVC pipe through the middle to provide stability. I used a soldering iron and a Dremel to get the bone-like texture and then painted it with an airbrush and acrylic paints to bring out the details.